In this series of posts and videos, we've been looking at the fact that if we don't start to plan now, then the chances are that 2015 is going to be just yet another mediocre year. But if we do start to plan now, if we start to put in place our 5-step plan, which we looked at in the last video, then 2015 could potentially be our best year in property ever. And in the last video we were looking at the fact that most successful people, if not all successful people, use goal setting as part of their success formula. Now, it may be that they do that as a very conscious thing, or it may be that they just do it instinctively. But goal setting is proven to help us to achieve more than we could ever possibly believe if we will just do it properly. And in this video I want to look at the first of 6 things. We're going to look at the first 3 of 6 things which can help us to set goals which will really help us to achieve so much next year. Now, as I said in the last video, please don't switch off just because it's about goal setting. I know that some people may think it's all a bit old hat, but it works, and that's why it's so important. If we want to have our best year in property ever in 2015, then now is the time to be thinking about our goals, and then in a later stage we'll be looking at how to plan to achieve our goals. So here's the first 3 of 6 things that we need to think about when we're setting our goals. And the first is, our goals must be in writing. Why must they be in writing? Because if they're not in writing, then it's really just wishful thinking. In fact, if they're not in writing, it becomes more like setting New Year's resolutions. And if you've read any of my other material, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions. One of the big problems with New Year's resolutions is it's usually giving up something, whereas goals is actually wanting to positively attain something. But that's a subject for another day. But writing our goals is so important. There's several things that happen when we write our goals. In fact, I've read and heard that if we write our goals down, if we just write them down once, we're 50% more likely to achieve our goals than if we just leave them as kind of like random thoughts in our mind. But there's something else which goes on as well when we write our thoughts. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but it seems that when we write our goals, it helps embed those thoughts very deep in our unconscious, probably our subconscious, and our mind starts working at a deep level which we're not even aware of consciously on how to achieve our goals. It's that link between the hand and the mind. So number 1, what we really need to do is to make sure that our goals are in writing, very clearly stated, and with a clear time frame for their achievement. The second thing we need to do is to set goals that are big enough to make a difference. After all, we want 2015 to be our best year in property ever. So let's make it a big year, and we're only going to make it a big year if we challenge ourselves to achieve some big goals. So let's do that. It's a bit like what Donald Trump says. He says if you have to think anyway, then we may as well think big. So by the same token, if we're going to set goals, let's set some big goals which are going to really challenge us and which are going to make a big difference once we achieve them. The third thing we need to do is to focus on a few meaningful goals rather than to spread ourselves too thin and try and achieve too many goals. Now, it's great to have a holistic view of goal setting, and I'd certainly suggest looking at goals in every area of your life, not just in property, not just in finances, not just in business. But here's the thing, we only have limited time and resources. And so what we need to do is to select those 2 or 3 goals from whichever area of our lives we're particularly concerned with, and to focus as much as we can on them. Because if we pick the goals which are going to make the most difference and concentrate our time, our resources and our energy on them, then obviously clearly we're going to make the biggest difference in our lives. So rather than spreading ourselves too thin by trying to say achieve 15 goals over the next 12 months, just pick 2 or 3 which are going to make the biggest difference and then really go for achieving them. In the next video we'll be looking at the next 3 things that we can do to make sure that we set the right goals for 2015. Thank you for watching the video. Please do read the post below this, it'll go into a bit more detail, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.